Okay guys, we are very close to writing our first macros. Before we do that, I want to show you the properties window in the Visual Basic Editor. So on the standard toolbar again, um, click this icon here, this hand with the white sheet of paper underneath, or it's an envelope, or I'm not sure what it is. Click that icon that you see here, or click F4 on your keyboard, and you'll notice this window pops up. It says properties, and then it has module 1 here. If yours doesn't appear in this arrangement on your screen, it's because some default settings on your computer, but you can drag the window around. So if I drag it, you can actually make it move away from being fixed in the window, and you could move it around here. I want to try to get it back somewhere where it looks better on my screen. So I'll leave it here, but you can drag these windows around if you want to sort of reposition them. So here's the properties window, and notice that it says module 1 here, and the properties window basically contains properties of a selected component in the editor. So what does that mean? Well, if I select this item, the sheet 1 module, notice that the properties window, it contains properties of that sheet 1 module. If I select this workbook over here, the properties window changes, and it says this workbook at the top. So it's showing you the properties of whatever you select. So if whatever I'm selecting, notice what it's changing over here. At the top it says sheet 3. If I click it, it says sheet 4. So it's changing the properties it displays based on the selected component you have over here in the Project Explorer. Same thing with user forms. You have all these properties, and we'll get into working with some of the properties, but properties are a very easy concept. They're just settings you can change. So we can change these settings, and we'll get into that later, but this is pretty straightforward. So let's look at some examples here. Let's change the name of this module to something. So if I click on module 1, I want to rename it something. So I'm going to rename it my first module. So if I do that and I click off of it, notice I did rename it my first module. And just for the sake of clarity and things, I'm going to delete these modules over here. So to do that, I'm just going to right click these modules and do remove module, and it says, do you want to export the module before removing? I'm going to click no. Then I'm going to remove this module, same thing, click no, and I'll remove this user form. Actually, I'll remove this user form too. Same thing, it asks you if you want to export it. You just click no, and now I just have, you know, the modules that I want to work with. So I just removed a couple of the ones we don't need. So look what happened. I changed the name of the module, right? That's what the properties window allows you to do. You select a component over here, or a module. You select a module. I say components because we'll see later that you can select things other than modules when you're dealing with user forms and stuff. But you could select something, it gives you the properties, you could change it. Now let's do one more example. Let's change the name of a worksheet. I'm sure you're all familiar with changing names of worksheets in Excel by doing things like this. You right click on a worksheet and you could rename it something like hello. Well, when I go back into the editor, that's reflected here. So sheet 3, notice it still says sheet 3, but it says the name down here in the property section is hello. So the VBA editor still keeps track of which sheet this is. It's sheet 3, but the name is a property, and you could change the name. So I could change the name here to goodbye, and if I do that, notice up here it says goodbye now. Sheet 3 has goodbye in parentheses. That's because the name of it is goodbye. And if I go here, it says goodbye down there. Another thing you can do, as a quick example, with playing with these properties, you can make it visible or invisible. So if I go down here to the property of sheet 3, to the properties window, I see this visible property. Right now it's set to -1, which is visible, and 0 is a choice that you can select for the visible property, and 0 means it's hidden. So if I select 0 here, oh, this is sheet 5. Oops. Somehow I did it for sheet 4 and sheet 5. But let's go back to sheet 3. I changed this property, this visible property, from -1 to 0. And now when I go into the workbook, I only see sheet 1, 4, and 5. And that's because here's sheet 1, here's sheet 4, here's sheet 5. They're all visible. This one is not visible. This sheet's not visible because I just hid it using these properties down here. And Excel sheet very hidden, I'm not exactly sure what that does, but we can look into that later, or you can Google it and you could find out. I mean, there's all these properties. No one is an expert on these things. You can always Google and find out what these properties do. But for a lot of the more common ones like visible and name and things like that, we know exactly what they mean. For the most part, these 1 and 2, what's the difference? I don't know. But if I change it back to 1, -1, you can see in here, now it's visible again. So that is the properties window. The main takeaways from this video are, here's your Project Explorer. If you want to see the properties of these modules, like the names or any of these other properties, you can always click on it with the properties window open, and you could see these properties. To get to the properties window again is this icon here. So in the next video, we will start writing some code, and we will get things going.